Do you like fighters or spacecraft design? Grab your copy of the first Spacedock reference book all about these topics on our Patreon through the link in the description and pinned comment below. Hello everybody and welcome back to Spacedock. I'm Hujiwana and today I'm taking a look at some of my favourite robots across science fiction. They are a very common fixture across the entire genre and have been for a century, with their many appearances ranging from simple automatons to synthetic people, with plenty of crossover with artificial intelligence as well. Whether they're there as a central part of the story or just window dressing to expand upon a world, robots are undeniably a core part of the genre. At number 5, we have the first iteration of the unnamed robot from the 1998 Lost in Space movie. Now yes, I know this film is not great, but damn if I didn't adore it when I was younger and couldn't really tell how bad it really was. What's amusing these days is knowing how many extremely accomplished actors are in it, and this is what they made. But the robot, one of the big reasons I love the movie so much, it's just cool. It's a cool robot with cool tank tracks and multiple cool laser beams it shoots from its hands, and an awesome voice. That deep, resonant sound is just so iconic to me. Whenever I hear something else doing that style of voice, I always associate it with this robot. It also had a remote control with a controller and a holographic interface that Will Robinson used, which made me want my own one of these robots even more. Even looking back on it through admittedly rose-tinted glasses, it's still a neat design. I love that it's a practical prop that is pretty much a real robot, albeit one that is puppeteered. It's hard to beat real, tangible physical objects for robots in film and TV, but it is very doable, as I'll talk about later. Coming in at number 4 is an entire antagonistic faction from a franchise I absolutely adore, Mass Effect, which has surprisingly few robots in general, likely to not distract too much from the Geth. There's the mechs in 2 and the Omega DLC for 3, and the body ED takes over, but very few apart from that. Not that the franchise really needs them, because the Geth are everywhere and utterly fantastic. Especially the default bipedal combat frames, in all their various sizes and specializations. Despite being one of the least overtly mechanical designs, or really family of designs, on this list, they're all still clearly robots thanks to their flashlight eyes and pipes and antennas, and well, the game explicitly saying they are. I love the synthetic muscles covered over in smooth armor plating, the variants being different sizes and being denoted with vibrant colors, different antennae and shoulder sizes and such is all just great. Legion especially is amazing, and his expressiveness just adds to that. It's a real shame that there's so much cut content and ideas with the Geth, both in Legion's lost content from 2 and the peculiar evolution that the Hoppers represented that was never followed up on. Overall, BioWare did a fantastic job with making a robot design that makes sense with the human-shaped animation rig they needed to use to save development time, and rolling that in with the Geth's origins and complicated relationship with their creators. While I don't have amazingly high hopes for the next game, I can't say that I'm not intrigued with the implications around the Geth that have been presented by the teasers for it. At number 3 is Isaac from the Orville, though this comes less from his visual design because, well, it's not exactly the most high-budget robot costume going around, is it? It does get improved in Season 3 like everything else, but it's nothing to shout about. That doesn't matter though, because what makes Isaac a fantastic robot, and this is verging on the difference between AI and a robot, is his character, his growth, the decisions he makes regarding his fellow Kaelon, his relationship with Dr. Finn and her children. Even his physical mannerisms here are great. The way he holds his hands, walks around, moves his head, adds a great amount to what is otherwise an exceedingly blank character who literally cannot emote. Huge props to Mark Jackson for everything here. He manages to make that cheap costume seem not that goofy thanks to his amazing performance. The writing does help, but come on, it's gotta be hard doing that job where all you have is your movement. It's all fantastic, and I think he's actually far superior to Data, who was often inconsistent and a bit one note. But that's almost certainly down to TNG being an episodic program made for syndication. Even taking that into account though, Isaac has been written seemingly to take everything from Data and just refine it, make it more consistent and actually robotic in nature, which is why I think Isaac is so great. In second place are the Sentinels from The Matrix. I'm a massive fan of the real world stuff in this setting, as you know from the top 10 aircraft video. All the dark metal, the organic shapes, the way everything is presented as being underwater, with the roiling clouds taking the place of the surface. I love it all. It should come as no surprise to find Sentinels on this list then, as the most common example of a physical presence of the machines in the real world, and an ever-present existential threat to hovercraft crews working at broadcast depth. I just adore these betentacled things because of how animalistic they are as they swim around in the air in the vast tunnel networks below the ground. They're almost serene with their fluid, languid motions. And then they switch to attack mode and go all out, putting those numerous tentacles to work, ripping and tearing at anything they can get a hold of as they scramble around on objects. And for tougher stuff, they also have those laser cutters surrounded by all those tiny little claws like a shrimp. I just love it! They're yet another part of the underwater vibes going on in the real world, and the sea creature aesthetic of the machines in general. While on this subject, I may talk about actual underwater sci-fi stuff in the future if you lot are interested. Let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe too if you haven't already. As always, before we get to the end of the list, we have some honourable mentions, starting with the big daddy of sci-fi robots, the T-800 Terminator, because what is not to love about this terrifying machine? Skynet was utterly deranged when it came up with this thing with its glowing red eyes and built-in teeth. And going back to the physical props thing from before, the earlier films having them be real, tangible objects made them even scarier. They may be very janky and limited in motion, but that weightiness is what makes them so good. I find a lot of CGI robots end up just not feeling right because of how they're animated, though I will say the spider crab robot suit mech thingy in season 3 of The Mandalorian was really well done. Back to Terminators though, and I gotta say I love the Rev 9 from Dark Fate. What a great way to evolve the concept and make it seem like a plausible alt-reality version of things. There's a lot of other humanoid bots around, especially these last few years where they've generally conformed to the same sort of realistic style that I think was popularised by Aaron Beck's designs in Elysium, which frankly is the only interesting one of the very overdone bunch. Some other neat robots I like that don't fit the human form are the Star Wars destroyer droids for no particular reason. I just think they're neat. The box guards from the modern Deus Ex games are also cool, folding up into a big cube like that. In a resounding first place are TARS and Case from Interstellar, though they are yet another one of those AI or robot conundrums, because as individuals they are both entertaining and great support characters. Both of them are well written, especially TARS with his humour settings and the friendship he develops with Coop. They're also completely ride or die with the human crew of the Endurance, with none of the usual overdone tropes about robots going crazy or needing to be reprogrammed. But beyond their great dialogue, the thing that really makes them absolutely brilliant is their physical bodies. Their monolithic forms are just gorgeously simple and an utterly unique design, with just amazing variety and potential because of their transforming and fractal nature. Despite this simplicity, they're also very mobile, as not only can they lurch along like a sort of gorilla, but they can gallop or even splay out and roll along. As Adam Savage said in an interview many years ago, this design, in terms of moving around, makes them mechanically very easy to create and maintain too. Both robots also feel incredibly real because of their grounded designs, which is also helped a ton by the Christopher Nolan classic of using as many in-camera physical effects as possible. This only adds to the feel of the film at large, which could have very easily been taken off course by a different style of bot. The production team behind the designs were all very cognizant of this, and of not wanting to come across like a traditional sci-fi robot, and they absolutely nailed it. Even something simple like their voices fits this, as there's none of the typical robotic effects layered over the actor's performance, except for a tiny bit of distortion to indicate the voice is coming from a set of speakers. Overall, these two are just absolute masterpieces of originality and design, which is why they are my favourite robots in science fiction. You can support Spacedock by joining our Patreon, where you can get our Spacefighter design reference book. Alternatively, you can support us directly through YouTube by giving us super thanks or by becoming a channel member. Thanks to our supporters, and thank you for watching.